this evening. We're going to start off by offering the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Excuse me. Before we begin, I'd like to make note for the record tonight that we have several council members missing from the formal session. Council members Penfold, Luke, and Rogers are excused absences, and we will miss their participation and Mayor's budget proposal tonight. We would like to welcome each of you to our City Council meeting this evening. We appreciate that you have taken time out of your day and evening to attend our meeting. We appreciate your participation, and we're happy to see you here to witness your local government at work. To start the meeting, we have laid out some guidelines for decorum and civility to make sure that everybody feels comfortable and safe to participate. Please be respectful during other people's comments. Please avoid cheering or jeering because it could cause somebody to feel intimidated. Please also help take care of this historic meeting room by not standing on furniture or leaning against decorative pieces. If you have a sign, prop, or other piece of equipment, such as a video recording device or something else, please make sure that it does not cause disruption or block anybody else's view. Please do not approach the dais. If you have something to pass out to the council, please hand it to a staff member and they can help pass that out to us. Our staff is here to help you. If you need assistance with anything or have any questions, please raise your hand and a council staff person will come to assist you. And can I have council staff raise their hand for the audience, please? Those individuals back in the room as well will be here to help you. Additionally, we recognize that 2 minutes of comment time is probably not sufficient enough to get all of your thoughts outlined. So if you have something else to add, please visit our website, slccouncil.com, or refer to the contact information sheets by the speaker cards for information on other ways to contact your representative. We're available by email, phone, snail mail, Facebook, all that. Our first item of business tonight, let's see. We're now at item A4, which is our first item, and that will be our current mayor, Jackie Biskupski. She is here to present the proposed Salt Lake City budget, including the redevelopment agency budget and library fund budget for fiscal year 2017-2018. So I'm going to hand it on over to our mayor.
Thank you. Tonight, I am pleased dedicated and hardworking city employees. This budget was crafted with the same fiscally responsible policies we started last year. These policies are aimed at ensuring a financial stability for our future. They also pay close attention to debt service and moving away from reliance on one-time sources of revenue for ongoing needs. Over the next few years, Salt Lake City will be asking residents to take on additional costs to help repair or replace infrastructure that is desperately needed. This ask must be coupled with a strong commitment from myself, the council, and every city employee to be responsible stewards of the dollars residents place in our hands, and that we do all we can to ensure additional costs are reasonable and implemented gradually. Last year, our engineering and transportation departments completed and presented to the council a report which demonstrated a high level of need for our city roads. And this team has already begun looking at various funding mechanisms to provide the financial resources necessary to maintain our roads. Over the next year, the administration will also complete a capital facilities plan to establish a complete picture of the city's total infrastructure needs. One option for funding these needs, which you will not see in this year's budget, is an additional general obligation bond. As I said previously, we must continue to strategically manage our city's debt burden. We are currently in a period of required increased payments to service our debt obligations. I would like to commend Marina Scott, our city treasurer, and her team, who have, over the last year, taken advantage of opportunities to adjust our debt, freeing up some revenue for city employee operations and saving us money. After careful consideration and in consultation with our finance experts, I have determined the city will be in a much better financial position to consider a new general obligation bond next year when existing bonds are scheduled to expire. This consideration is influenced greatly by trying to avoid an additional tax burden on city residents, which we can do if we wait. It is my hope that by working together with robust public engagement, we can have both an infrastructure funding plan and long-term project plan in place next year. This year, through new policy implemented for the Capital Improvement Fund, we have been able to reallocate $1.9 million to shovel-ready projects, with street repair being prioritized. This brings the total funding allocated to roads, sidewalks, and streets to over $8 million this year. Also, our new policy focuses CIP funds on projects ready to begin, projects that have multiple phases to them or can be completed in 2 years. I believe we have an obligation to protect and support the community infrastructure that provides recreational opportunities to residents and visitors. As such, I am recommending prioritizing $400,000 to move the Rose Park Golf Course into the general fund. This allows us to expand a community asset beloved by Rose Park residents, while we are exploring ways to ensure Rose Park stays a golf course forever. By placing it in the general fund, we have the opportunity to create additional amenities like trails and Jordan River activation. By taking this step, we also begin a process creating a Northwest recreation area by aligning the golf course with the nearby Regional Athletic Complex and Jordan River Disc Golf, both already supported by the general fund. I understand this is a large shift, but this move helps stabilize the Gulf Fund, and more importantly, it preserves a golf course the Rose Park residents dearly love. The other major infrastructure project Salt Lake City will begin is the replacement of our city's sewer treatment plant, with improvements and upgrades to our sewer collection system. This project, being led by our Public Utilities Director, Laura Briefer, allows Salt Lake City to be prepared for future economic and population growth. It also helps further our environmental goals by ensuring our treatment process meets the highest possible clean standards. This is a once-in-a-generation project. Our current treatment plant is over 50 years old, and the expectation would be for the new plant to serve Salt Lake City for another 50 years. In order to responsibly pay for this multi-year project, Public Utilities has proposed a 5-year rate plan to increase sewer rates as gradually as possible. Our intent is to upgrade this critical infrastructure while at the same time limiting the impact on our residents. It should be noted, all funds gathered by our city's Public Utilities Department through water, lighting, and sewer bills are spent only on those critical pieces of infrastructure. We are fortunate to get high-quality service at reasonable rates. Even after the increases, estimated bills in Salt Lake City will be lower than most cities in our area. I would also ask the council to consider a similar phased-in approach to the library's proposed property tax increase. While I am fully supportive of the library's plans and appreciate the critical service they provide, I do have concerns regarding the tax coming all at once. In order to be mindful of residents, especially of our low-income families, we must look at all fees and increases in a much more holistic way. For our part, the city will freeze any potential increases this year on street lighting and refuse to help ease the impact of other increases we will see. As we invest in our city's infrastructure and services, we continue to focus on our sustainability goals. Last summer, we signed a historic resolution to completely transition our city's needs to renewables by 2032 and to reduce our carbon output by 80% by 2040. We are already meeting pivotal benchmarks toward reaching these goals. To keep that momentum going, I am requesting $100,000 from the Landfill Distribution Fund to help cover costs of engineering, permitting, and financial analysis required as we partner with Rocky Mountain Power to build a large solar farm. Our timeline for the partnership with Rocky Mountain Power starts with working through regulatory requirements and permitting through the entire year. The solar farm project will be put out to bid in mid-2018 and will partner with Rocky Mountain Power to determine the size and location of the farm. As a city, we have a great opportunity to make substantial impact on climate change, and we will continue chipping away at this issue. We know that energy-efficient homes and businesses enjoy lower utility costs while also contributing to a more sustainable environment. But we also know for too many families, the initial costs of adding solar or other energy upgrades are simply out of financial reach. This is why I am requesting $200,000 also from the Landfill Distribution Fund to support access to energy efficiency technology for low-income households. It is important for our sustainability team to engage the broader community in important steps toward cutting pollution. With this budget allocation, we can bring equity and opportunity to our energy efficiency efforts. Creating equity and opportunity are also at the core of our efforts to move people from homelessness to housing, while mitigating the current issues surrounding our city's homeless shelter. In the coming year, the city will target more than $2.1 million to assist agencies with service needs and to provide mitigation efforts. To better manage these dollars, we have consolidated homeless resources under the direction of Housing and Neighborhood Development. We have also increased ongoing funding by approximately $1.5 million, in many instances moving items previously paid for by one-time or emergency funding into an ongoing revenue stream. These needs include the emergency winter shelter at St. Vincent's and winter motel vouchers. I have also set aside funding for infrastructure changes on 500 West, particularly to address the parking needs of the Salt Lake City Police Department's Community Connection Center and new centralized substation on 500 West. City employees, with the help of community stakeholders, have been exploring the best options in the area, as well as looking at how we can use this new infrastructure to disrupt criminal activity. This budget also increases funding for the Green Team program, which employs and teaches skills to women experiencing homelessness at a community garden on 600 West. This increased funding of $50,000 will be set aside to pay the salary of a professional gardener from Wasatch Community Gardens, who has been instrumental in literally helping this program grow. Last September, I attended the opening of this garden and had the opportunity to meet some of the women in the program, along with those helping them succeed. What struck me most at this opening was the level of community support for efforts to help raise people out of homelessness and to find new and compassionate solutions. The Green Team was the result of cooperation between Salt Lake City, the RDA, Wasatch Community Gardens, Advantage Services, and the Downtown Alliance. Everyone came together to make this happen, and it's working. We need to celebrate the nonprofits like Wasatch Community Gardens, local businesses, and organizations like the Downtown Alliance, which choose to be part of a solution and are getting their hands dirty. Look, we need everyone to help make change. I like to say, rethink your thinking. We saw this last year with the city and county's efforts in the creation of Operation Diversion. This was a change of thinking, a change in how we operate. For the first time, we paired law enforcement accountability with the opportunity for treatment. Operation Diversion is a successful model, and with commitment from the county to match the $685,000 I have prioritized in this year's budget, it will continue. Also, efforts and funding from the state and our Salt Lake County Sheriff will ensure we have the jail capacity to make it a continued success into the future. Through the efforts of the Salt Lake City PD's innovative Community Connection Center, elements of Operation Diversion have continued all year, resulting in even greater successes. The treatment beds made available during Operation Diversion were kept full by the social workers at the Community Connection Center, who were able to engage 104 people in treatment with a waiting list of 115 people. This year, the budget includes an additional $220,000 for the CCC, providing all necessary funding for this program to be fully staffed. Our willingness to continue exploring new ideas and to fund these initiatives will undoubtedly help solve some immediate concerns as we prepare for the closing of the downtown shelter in 2019. Part of that preparation includes housing. $125,000 will go to support the 20 highest users of city resources and help them transition from homelessness to housing. I have also allocated $3 million in the RDA budget toward affordable housing initiatives. This funding adds to the pool of money created by the City Council last year. And this year, I created the Blue Ribbon Commission, a team of experts who have been working diligently to develop a plan and funding strategy to bring critical affordable housing online over the next 2 years. Tonight, I am also presenting the budget for the Redevelopment Agency. This budget is being presented with the general fund budget as part of our effort to more closely align the RDA's priorities with those of the city. These changes are part of our efforts also to create a strong economic development department. As a result of this change, for the first year, the RDA budget has been prepared in full cooperation with our city's budget and finance teams, creating a much more transparent budget. Along with the $3.2 million directed toward affordable housing projects, we have also included funding to move forward current projects and explore new project areas. The RDA budget includes more than $1 million for the Critical Station Center project and $600,000 for $600,000 for pocket parks, plazas, and public space that is downtown. We are also proposing $200,000 in seed money to move forward the exploration of new project areas, including the State Street project, an area of true opportunity for Salt Lake City. Over the last year, we have taken important strides to change how the RDA operates. Change, I believe, has made that agency stronger and more effective. With this year's budget in place and the additional funds from last year, it is time for us to move forward now on the projects we have committed to. I know there is a desire by the board of the RDA to consider bonding this year. I look forward to future conversations on this issue with the board. However, at this time, I am not convinced this is a financially responsible or feasible option to take. Through a budget amendment, we have presented a path forward to preserve the $21 million Affordable Housing Fund, which is a priority for all of us. Given the opportunity, and most importantly, the release of funding by the RDA board, staff is prepared to begin projects that were stalled last year. I am concerned that bonding will continue to slow critical projects at a time when we have enough cash on hand to aggressively move forward today. Also, the RDA does not have the ability to bond in a meaningful way and would rely on the general fund to guarantee the size of bond that I understand you are seeking, adding further debt to the city. I believe we can work together to use the funds we have today in a strategic and effective manner before we turn to taking on more debt as a city and an agency. As leaders of this city, one of the greatest responsibilities is to ensure the well-being of our employees. Last year, I introduced a new family policy which provides up to 6 weeks of paid leave to new parents, regardless of gender, family makeup, or length of service in our city. Extensive research provides overwhelming support that paid parental leave results in healthier outcomes for employees and their families. This is a truth we are already seeing with our new policy. Salt Lake City firefighter Tom Maple and his wife welcomed their first child, William, in February. Tom, who is assigned to the station number 5 in the 9th and 9th neighborhood, was planning on using just a couple of weeks of vacation after his wife gave birth. But when he heard about the new policy, his plans changed. Because of the policy, Tom was able to be there for his wife when she needed him most, and he was able to bond with his son. He was also able to be there for himself as well. Like many new parents, Tom described his first few weeks of fatherhood as a pretty steep learning curve. There were new routines, new sleeping schedules, and new responsibilities. Looking back on the experience, Tom is incredibly grateful for the additional time off. Not only did it allow him time to bond with his son, but he was able to go back to the station, much less distracted and even a bit relaxed, he said. I am happy to report that little William is growing like crazy and has been to the firehouse to meet his dad's buddies. After analyzing the first few months of this policy, I am budgeting $170,000 to cover the additional costs the city may incur to provide this benefit for the coming year. These additional costs are related to overtime or other expenses incurred for those in positions that require constant coverage, typically our emergency services personnel like Tom. While we will continue to monitor this policy, I strongly believe the instrument we are making will benefit not only those who serve the city like Tom, but our community as a whole. Maintaining a strong, productive, and empowered workforce continues to be a top priority as mayor. Last year, we began a citywide employee university to provide city employees with thousands of trainings and educational opportunities. I have once again prioritized funding to allow human resources to continue to build on this effort, focusing on new trainings in the area of inclusion, cultural awareness, and customer service. My budget recommendation also provides for base salary increase of 1% to 2% for those employees not scheduled to receive a negotiated increase. As I end tonight, I'd like to highlight an area of concern and ask residents for their help. The federal administration recently proposed budget details, which include severe cuts across most federal agencies. Of greatest concern was the reported $6 billion in spending cuts for the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Those dramatic cuts would entirely eliminate a vital funding source for Salt Lake City, the Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG. Cities have historically relied upon federal funding programs to play a role in improving quality of life, and CDBG has proven to be successful across the country for decades. It is a flexible source of funds that cities can use to build and renew infrastructure in our neighborhoods. We use it to build sidewalks, make repairs on homes, and to maintain important programming. I want to take this moment to recognize and thank the work of our CDBG Advisory Board. And I would also like to recognize and thank the City Council for approving my recommendations for CDBG funding this year. But now the future of this critical funding is in jeopardy. As mayor, I think of the children and the families and the entire neighborhoods that will suffer. Just over a month ago, I toured a home owned by a woman with cerebral palsy. In a wheelchair, she was unable to enjoy the full function of her home. And as a first-time home buyer on a fixed income, she was unable to make necessary modifications on her own. Thankfully, a team from the city's Housing and Neighborhood Development Department connected with her and arranged to make the necessary improvements to her home, utilizing funds the city received through CDBG. I watched as construction crews installed new flooring to prevent her from falling, a new kitchen unit that provided her access to her stove for the very first time, and a safer shower and toilet for better mobility. They were able to drastically improve her quality of life by showing up and helping. I recently joined with mayors from across the country to stand united against these proposed budget cuts. I have also strongly urged our congressional delegation to consider the local level consequences of the loss of the CDBG funding. And now we need the community to help protect this funding. Please reach out to your congressional delegation and tell them to preserve HUD, especially the CDBG funding. This is your money, and this is the money that helps keep your community safe. In closing, I want to express my appreciation to all of those who worked tirelessly to complete this budget recommendation, especially our new Chief Financial Officer, Mary Beth Thompson, and her team. Every year, we come together to assign a real value to our priorities, evaluating projects and services, every one worth funding. This isn't easy, so I appreciate your diligence in working to ensure we are accurate and fiscally responsible while promoting equity, creating opportunity, and fostering hope in Salt Lake City. I also want to express my appreciation to the council as you begin your work in this budget process. I strongly believe the budget before you represents our shared values and priorities. My door remains open to all of you. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I would love to have that conversation. Thank you for your time and attention to my recommendations this evening. And go Jazz! Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I neglected to mention that in order to accommodate the presentation of the budgets for the redevelopment agency, the local building authority, and the city council, this meeting has been publicly noticed as a joint meeting between the city council, RDA, LBA, and LBA. Therefore, as all three bodies conclude their business this evening, we will adjourn as necessary throughout this meeting. So I like to think of it as us wearing 3 hats, and as we finish business, we'll take one off after another. So, thanks
Mr.
again,
Chair.
Mayor. Yes.
May I make a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we adjourn as the Board of Directors of the Redevelopment Agency and recess as the Board of Directors of the Local Building Authority and continue as the City Council.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Adams and a second by Councilmember Johnston. Is there any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This motion carries. Our next item tonight is item A5, council meeting minutes approval. Is there a motion to approve the work
Mr.
session
Chair?
minutes? Yes, ma'am.
I move approval of the minutes for Tuesday, April 11th, 2017, and the formal meeting minutes for April 18th, 2017.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Mendenhall and a second by Councilmember Johnston. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We will now hold the public hearing portion of our meeting. We have a few opportunities for public comment tonight, and we'll call people based on the comment cards that have been turned in. I will call people 2 at a time. The first person, please come forward to the microphone, and the second person, please be ready to follow. Comment time is limited to 2 minutes per person, and you cannot combine time with another speaker. As a reminder, please help us create a civil and respectful environment by respecting other people's comments, no loud noises or other disruptions. Please do not block other people's views with signs or other items, and allow our council staff to help pass out any handouts that you may have. All right, my first speaker tonight is Catherine Albury. Oh, excuse me, this is for item B1 through B4, which will be heard as one public hearing. So my first speaker is Catherine Albury, followed by Hans Urbar. Hi, Catherine.
Thank you, council members, for hearing me tonight. I am here to speak in favor of ordinance number 4 on the agenda, petitioner Hans Urbar, petition number PLN PCM 215-00056. I'm a neighbor of Hans's, and I want to commend him for his devotion to urban farms in our neighborhood. And I am, in fact, a member of a community-supported agriculture group, and I enjoy fresh vegetables that were ultimately grown on his farm for several years. Hans owns a piece of property that is crossed by this alleyway and then extends between two houses onto High Street. And this alleyway still exists on official maps, but it is not being used at all. And there is absolutely no reason for it to exist because it runs into other properties the further it goes. So I want to endorse Hans's petition and ask that you vote favorably for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Up next, I have Hans Erbar, followed by Vicky Wason.
Yeah, I'm Hans Erber. I'm the petitioner for this for this alley closure, and it is just an effort to reconcile what is in the books of the city with what is already the reality on the ground. I think people have been using the alley space because there was no need for the alley space to be an alley, and I think it should just be made official. And some people, I was kind of surprised with the hearings at the city council meeting. Some people were opposed to it because they thought vacating the alley means that they have to vacate the alley rather than the city ceding the land over to them. So I hope this has been cleared up, and I hope that it goes through. Thank you.
Thank you, Hans. I have Vicky Wason, followed by Mary English.
Hi, I'm Vicky Wasson, and I am also in support of the same alley that is going to be possibly vacated. And I've lived in Wasatch Commons, which is the land that's right up against this alley, for 18 years, and there's no need to change anything the way it is. And I like that it says here that the land would, the people who have built on the land or have a driveway or something like that, that there wouldn't be any fee or any burden on those families that are using it, and I appreciate that. So I'm in support of number 4 ordinance alley closure between 1411 South and High Avenue, which is approximately 1550 West. So thank you for considering my position.
Thank you, Vicky. Mary English.
My name is Mary English, and I also live in that block. If you go down High Street, there's absolutely no indication anywhere that an alley ever existed. It's solid homes and fences, and it seems silly not to reconcile the actuality of what exists with what's actually happened in the neighborhood. Plus, he's done a wonderful job. Theoretically, where the alley would be, there are fruit trees, there's an urban garden that produces for the community and high-end restaurants who purchase. So I would very much like to see the vacation of the alley so that the reality of the situation matches the books. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mary. That is my last card. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to one of these 4 items tonight? I will look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council close the public hearing and adopt ordinances closing the following: Hayes Avenue between the Jordan River and 1100 West, the alley west of 900 West between Duluth Avenue and 1500 North, the alley at approximately 1528 West North Temple, the alley between approximately 1411 South and High Avenue at approximately 1550 West.
Second.
It has been moved by Councilmember Adams and seconded by Councilmember Johnston. Is there any other discussion on this matter? All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. Our next public hearing tonight is a rezone of 695 North John Glenn Road, and I have no comment cards on this. Is there
Mr.
anybody that,
Chair. Oh,
is there anybody that would like to speak to our rezone tonight? In that case, I'll look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would like to move that the council close the public hearing and adopt an ordinance amending the zoning map pertaining to a parcel located at approximately 695 North John Glenn Road from AG to M1, and to remove the parcel from the Lowland Conservancy Overlay District.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Adams and a second by Councilmember Johnston. Is there any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Our next item, B6, is a public hearing for a resolution for a community land trust public benefits analysis study. I have no cards for this either. Does anybody in the audience like to speak to this? I look for a motion.
We got to turn our pages.
I move the council close the public hearing and defer action to a future council meeting.
Is there a
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Mendenhall and a second by Councilmember Johnston. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. The last scheduled public hearing is for a grant application for the Bureau of Medical Services and Preparedness Grant Program / Defibrillator Replacement Program. I have no comments on this. Is anybody in the audience, do they care to speak to this? I look for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I move the council close the public hearing for grant application item B7 and defer action to a future council meeting.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Mendenhall and a second by Councilmember Adams. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. We are at Section C, potential action portion of our agenda, and we have one item tonight. The first item is an ordinance for budget amendment number 5, fiscal year 2016-2017. I will look for a motion on this item.
Mr. Chair, I move that the council approve $500,000 in police impact fees for item A4, Sugar House Police Precinct, 2, all other items in budget amendment number 5, and 3, the CIP comprehensive review legislative intent as shown on the motion sheet.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Adams and a second by Councilmember Mendenhall. Is there any discussion on this?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are now at item D1. We will be taking general comments tonight, and I will call people based on the comment cards that I've been handed. Just like with the public hearings, I will call people 2 at a time. The first person, please come forward to the microphone, and the second person, please be ready to follow shortly thereafter. Comment time is limited to 2 minutes per person, and you cannot combine time with another speaker. As always, please be respectful. Our first comment tonight is Damon Harris, followed by Patrick Beaker. Damon?
Yeah, good evening. Hey, so one of the things I just wanted to come address is like I'm part of Utah Against Police Brutality, and we've sent you all an email, right, requesting like to go over a questionnaire, because what we're trying to do is trying to improve the Civilian Review Board. So we've been asking for your assistance to improve this, right? And I know I've sent you an email, I've called you, have not responded. I talked to Rogers. He said he was really busy with this budget thing, but obviously he's too busy for that too, right? So, and just, it's really kind of discouraging, that the unwillingness, right? To try to like reduce harm within the police department. So I heard Biskupski talk about, you know, promoting all this money for this jail and blah, 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 right? And there's no money for like accountability. So we need your guys' assistance with this. And we're just like, I guess begging maybe for assistance. I don't think I should have to beg for my community to be, you know, less harm, but we just wanting you guys to get on the same page, just at least like spark a discussion, like rethink what you thought, like Biskupski says, right? It's important, right? So if we can get you guys maybe get back with us and help us with this, because that's all we're here to do is reduce harm, which, you know, disturbing the status quo can be harmful to those that gain privilege from it. And we're not, you know, whatever. If that's what it is, that's what we're going to do. But we need you guys' help with this. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Up next, I have Patrick Beaker, followed by Douglas Cotant.
My name's Patrick Beaker with the Southwest Carpenters. We still have some concerns with Pete King, and the mayor's lack of action is concerning. You know, we're looking forward to being part of the upcoming public hearings with the city budget. And we will continue to be a presence at these meetings due to the mayor's ineffective response to our issues until they are addressed. And as always, buy local and build local.
Thank you, Mr. Beaker. Mr. Cotant, followed by Jacob Jensen.
After listening to the mayor talking about what Trump has been doing, I had no idea that Donald J. Trump would be that set. Set because he's trying to take away public housing that we need, and he is, my personal feeling is that Donald J. Trump is not cut out to be president of the United States. So I think, and yes, I'm going to write letters to our congressional delegation asking them that when the federal budget comes up for a vote, has it been voted on already or what? That when the federal budget comes up for a vote, that they vote against Mr. Trump's idea of taking away HUD money, as Mayor Bislupski just told us. Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. Jacob Jensen, followed by Bernie Hart.
Bernie's next too, huh? Okay. I'm Jacob Jensen. I'm with Utah Against Police Brutality. You've probably seen my face a few times, and I just wanted to second some of the stuff Damon has said. We've distributed a questionnaire to everybody on City Council. We've given multiple phone calls, and we've actually given you a copy of the questionnaire because we don't want it to be any sort of gotcha anything. We want to hear your honest opinions about what roadblocks you see about the issues of having a community-controlled police review board and ways that we can forge the way forward to make police more accountable. According to my records here, we've had a couple people call. We've had no response from Lisa Adams or her office, none from Charlie Luke, none from Aaron Mendenhall, none from Derek Kitchen. Stan Penfold said he talked to us a year ago. I took a conversation with him at a coffee shop in which he basically said, there's not a whole lot we can do, but we're going to research it. That's not good enough. We want him to answer the questionnaire as well. We've not heard anything from Andrew Johnston. And James Rogers said he was too busy reviewing the budget, but is not here today, and then asked us to speak to Stan Penfold about it. So we're kind of not enamored with the runaround, but I think that we would still be interested in talking with people and getting their honest opinions. It's possible that you guys are super busy. I believe it. So what I'd like to do is maybe arrange to have those sort of meetings or at least a discussion or something like that after City Council, and I look forward to hopefully your cooperation. Take care.
Mr. Chair?
Councilmember Adams?
Point of personal privilege.
Please.
You need to know that James Rogers had a death in his family. That's a good reason to miss.
I agree. I'm sorry I didn't know that.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen. Bernie Hart. And then I don't have any other cards. If anybody else would like to speak, please fill out a comment card.
Just a comment, I didn't expect American support of Mr. Jensen. There's many people that, and he was part of it in dealing with the police department on a regular bi-monthly basis. Twice a month, we've been meeting for over a year, and there's a number of citizens in the community that are very interested in the police department and making sure that it performs to our expectations. And it's been a really hard-fought battle, but well worthwhile. But I'm here to talk about this shelter on 7th South. We had a community meeting last night, and we're starting to bring people together. Many of them are in support of the shelter, but their main concern last night and was the campers they're seeing in the area already. They expect to see more as the shelter moves in if the shelter's not run right. And my concern was drug use. We have found out that active drug users and people that are addicted, not in treatment, will be allowed into the shelters. This is a formula for disaster. If anybody has had anybody addicted to any substance in their household and had to lock up their pocketbooks and lock up their money and lock up their prescriptions and change the whole household structure because you had an addict in your midst and it was one of your children that you didn't know what to do with, that's what the non-addicted members of the homeless resource centers who are there for rehab are there to be treated and moved on to more stable environments. Well, that needs a stable environment to happen. And if you allow the addicted, active drug users into the facilities, it's almost a sure way of recreating the Rio Grande area wherever these shelters go, because addicts need their drugs. And they're either going to have to be given them in the shelter or they're going to come looking for them in our neighborhoods. And we can't have this. And you'll be hearing about us until we get some
Time.
satisfaction on this going forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. Last call for comments. All right, we will move on to new business. Looks like there's no new business today. On to item F, unfinished business of our agenda. The first item is regarding an ordinance for electric vehicle parking stalls amendment. I will look for a motion.
All right, I'll do it. I move the City Council adopt the section of the proposed ordinance that applies Salt Lake City Code 21A.44.050.B.2 titled Electric Vehicle Parking only to future multifamily residential buildings with more than 5,000 square feet in floor area and the future expansion of existing multifamily residential buildings by more than 5,000 square feet of existing floor area. I further move that the City Council continue to consider and gather public input on the proposed amended standards to 21A.44.050.B.2 that were presented at the Council's April 4th, 2017 work session. The proposed revisions include requiring at least 20% of the minimum required parking spaces to have conduit to accommodate wiring for the future use of a minimum of 208-volt Level 2 electric vehicle charging equipment, requiring sufficient electrical capacity for the future use of a minimum 208-volt Level 2 electrical vehicle charging equipment, defining sufficient electrical capacity as having electrical panels and transformer capacity to accommodate the future use of a minimum 208-volt Level 2 electric vehicle charging equipment, and repealing requirements to locate electric vehicle charging spaces in the same parking lot as the principal building use and locating electric vehicle charging spaces as close to a primary building entrance as possible. The Council's consideration may include other related provisions of Title 21A.
I have a motion from Councilmember Johnston. Is there a second? No second. All right, that motion fails. Unless there's any discussion.
Yes.
Excuse me. All right, council members.
mind?
Councilmember Mendenhall.
I
please.
recognize that the ordinance as it sat needed some adjustments, and there were some financial realities for development that were worth addressing in this ordinance change. But I have been pretty adamant all through this discussion, which has taken years now, actually, that I think the weakening of the installation of electric vehicle charging in our city and capacity for that is backwards in our thinking. And it's frankly contrary to the sustainability efforts of our city. So I'm not in support of this. And I don't know if anyone else, I'm still willing to come to the table and work through these changes, so perhaps I should make a second motion. I wonder if there's any other comments on this, and I could take a moment to do that.
I'd like to comment on this. My concern is that we have been working on this for a really long time, and that when affordable housing is a priority of ours, I'm concerned that this is going to make it more difficult to get affordable housing because this is an expensive component to put in. And generally speaking, for the foreseeable future, and that may be 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, electric cars are expensive, and probably in places where you've got some affordable housing, it won't go used. I like the idea of having it, as it were, plumbed and ready to go, but I think we need to go back and revisit this and figure out a way that it works to benefit affordable housing.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, indeed.
would it be appropriate for staff? I think we have not communicated very well with you on why this is on your agenda tonight. Can I share that? Councilmember Mendenhall, do you?
No, I appreciate that, and I really don't, if there's a way that you can suggest or that Margaret can suggest that we table this instead of killing it tonight,
Yes.
then I would love to make that motion.
Okay, so I'll just tell you a little bit first, if you don't mind, and that is that we thought that you had some interest in moving ahead on the housing piece of this, and so this pulls that out and gives you that opportunity to go over that in depth, do a big notification so that you're including everyone, all of those developers. So this still preserves that opportunity and just continues that discussion. Then the part that this does more quickly is what we thought you had been talking about for a while, which was not having the requirement on some of the other developments. And I hear Councilmember Mendenhall saying you don't support that. But just so you know, what we were trying to do is continue the conversation on the housing piece, which is the one that you've spoken most about recently, and then have the other entities exempt now instead of later. You can just defer this to another meeting. That's all the motion would need to be if that's what you'd rather do.
Councilmember Johnston, can I offer a friendly amendment to your motion that didn't have a second?
Yeah, at this point, what's the point, right?
I think you can just
just
make a
table
new
it.
motion because of no second.
The failure of the first.
Yeah.
I move that we table this.
I second that.
Is
All
that
right.
sufficient? I move that we table the electric vehicle parking stalls text amendment.
That works. That's similar to deferring action to a future date.
You're right.
I want to bring it back for discussion in a work session. Okay.
Great. I have a motion by Councilmember Mendenhall and a second by Councilmember Adams to table this to a future date. All those in favor?
Can we have a
Aye.
discussion on this quickly?
Sure,
Yeah.
excuse me.
I-
Councilmember
I-
Johnston.
Not to extend this any longer, I appreciate it's gone on much longer than I've been on the council. I also appreciate the fact that it's a difficult issue and this was a compromise to start the discussion. I am glad that we'll continue the discussion because I think this is urgent and important to us. And it sounds like we have two different reasons for not doing it tonight on opposite ends of the spectrum. So I'm willing to continue on. I just want to make sure we do pursue this as quickly and effectively as we can.
And I'd also like to offer gratitude to council staff for being responsive to what you think our desires are. So thank you. And I will look
We did
forward.
miss the boat, sorry.
So I have a motion from Councilmember Mendenhall, a second by Councilmember Adams. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Our next unfinished business item, F2, is regarding a resolution. Tentative budget of Salt Lake City, including the tentative budget of the library fund for fiscal year 2017-2018. I will look for a motion on this item.
I don't have a motion sheet on it, but I could move approval for the tentative budget of Salt Lake City, including the tentative budget of the library fund for fiscal year 2017-18.
Second?
I have a motion for approval by Councilmember Mendenhall and a second by Councilmember Adams. Is there any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Our third unfinished business item is to confirm public hearing dates for ordinances relating to fiscal year 2017-18 city budget, including the budget for the library fund. I'll look for a motion on this item as well.
Move approval?
Second?
I have a motion by Councilmember Mendenhall, a second by Councilmember Adams. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Now, I will look for a motion for the council to recess as the city council and to reconvene as the board of directors of the local building authority.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by
waiting for Stan.
Councilmember Johnston, a second by Councilmember Mendenhall. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. The council will now consider a motion to recess.
Or,
Did we have?
Yeah.
no,
Am I
we're
missing
going
something?
to, I'm going to propose that we tentatively adopt the budget for the capital projects fund for the local building authority for fiscal year 2017-18. Is that, am I in right order here? Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I have a motion by Councilmember Mendenhall, second by Councilmember Adams. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion carries. The council will consider a motion to recess as the city council.
Actually, I
We
think
we
we're
need to
going to,
confirm the public hearing dates, right?
I think I
for it,
might
Lisa.
have my sheets off.
Yeah.
we're going to move that we confirm the public hearing dates for the local building authority budget for fiscal year 2017-18. Do I need to read that we set the public hearing date for Tuesday, May 16th, 23rd, June 2nd,
June 6th.
I'm sorry, June 6th, 2017 at 7 PM?
Second?
I have a motion by Councilmember Mendenhall and a second by Councilmember Adams. Any discussion on this item? All those in favor?
Aye.
And now, are we on to F4?
Now we adjourn.
No, we
You're on
adjourn.
G, I think.
Excuse me.
We're on consent agenda.
All right. I will look for a motion to adjourn as the Board of Directors of the local building authority and reconvene as the Salt Lake City Council.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Mendenhall, a second by Councilmember Johnston. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We are now on the consent portion of our agenda. I will look for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Mendenhall, a second by Councilmember Johnston. Let's see, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. This concludes our formal council meeting this evening. Thank you for your attendance. This meeting stands adjourned. My papers got a little.